ಅಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಶರ್ಮಾ ಅವರು ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗಲ್ಲಿ. ವೃತ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಂತೆ ಅವರು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರು, ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೌಲ್ಯಮಾಪನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ತಜ್ಞರು. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರವೃತ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇತಿಹಾಸವನ್ನು ಕೆದಕ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇತಿಹಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರವೃತ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಅಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಶರ್ಮಾ ಅವರು ಕಳೆದ 11 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಕೆಳದಿ, ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕೆಳದಿ ಏನು ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನ ಇತ್ತು ಆ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ವಹಿಸಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರ ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೋಟೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಆರ್ಕಿಟೆಕ್ಚರ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಪುರಾತನ ನಗರ ವಾಸ್ತು ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ನಮಗೆ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಕಳೆದ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ನೇಪಾಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ನಗರ ವಾಸ್ತುಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಂಥದ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಾರಿಜ ಅಡಿಗ ಅವರು ಮಾತಾಡಿದರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಥರ ಸಂಗತಿಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಂದರುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಶಸ್ತ್ರಾಗಾರಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಆಗಿದ್ದಂಥ ಪರಸ್ಪರ ಸಂವಹನದ ಕಲೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆಗೆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು ಆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಈ ಥರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ವಹಿಸಿ ಅವರು ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಶರ್ಮಾ ಅವರು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ.
All the directors of Mythic Society and all the history lovers who have assembled in this special hall for this important special lecture. Well, as you can see on the screen, the topic on what I'm speaking today is already there on the screen, which says the history of metal case war rockets in India. So I'll be speaking about metal case war rockets all the way from 16th to 19th century. Most of the people like me, I believe, and most of you also, I think. So we were taught in the schools and colleges, and also because of Google and Wikipedia, so we all believe that rockets, I'm not talking about metal case rockets, I'm speaking about rockets and gunpowder. So this is something which was invented by the Chinese. So whenever you Google or do Wikipedia, this is what the information pops out, and obviously we will believe that they are the one who invented rockets and also gunpowder. When it comes to metal case rockets, so that is the topic today. Metal case war rockets, it's believed that it was invented by Tipu. Some of the Westerners say it's Hyder also, and obviously the Britishers proved that through their narratives that it was Tipu who used them efficiently in various Anglo-Mysore wars. And it was the first time that the British got the taste of metal case war rockets. And this is what the narrative says. And based on the narratives, contemporary narratives and paintings, so it was proved that yes, it was Tipu who invented the metal case war rockets. And based on these rockets, Congreve developed advanced rockets, and which was used in the Napoleonic Wars, which took place between 1807 to 1815, but it was of no much success. So obviously, it's Tipu who is the pioneer of rockets, and whatever modern rocket technology we have, so it is attributed to Tipu. So as an engineer, I just want you to know, I'm proud in fact, so because it belongs to Karnataka, so obviously I'm very proud that the modern rocket science belongs to us. But I was very excited because Anuradha Madam Ji, I think one of her videos I was going through, she says that during the period of Ashoka itself, he had recognized the places or regions which was famous for producing iron. If I'm not wrong, madam. So it's already viral. So long back we know about iron, and when we just go through our ancient literatures, we get to know that we are the first to know how different metals were produced. This is obvious. So we were far ahead than them. So when we look at those iron pillars at Delhi, at Madhya Pradesh, and the one at Kochadri near Kollu, so we are obviously we know very well that our ancestors had great knowledge about iron, And I thought, okay, it took for our ancestors of Tipu to come in the 18th century and develop a iron-cased metal rockets. So this is what sent me on a new journey. So if you see here, in 2002, hundreds of shells were retrieved from one of the wells in Nagra. So at that point of time, none of these people, even the locals, knew what exactly they were, in fact. So it was retrieved, it came in the newspapers, and they were transferred to the Shimoga Shivappa Museum. And interestingly, before 2002 itself, way back in 1995 itself, similar types of shells were uh, were found in a well which was located very close to the main entrance of Bidnur Fort, in fact. So this was the place where most of the wars were fought between the Bidnur kings and various other kingdoms, including the Aurangzeb, Adil Shahis, Hyder, and Tipu also. So this was very interesting. But then it's the local historian who found it also was not sure what exactly they were, but he mentioned in one of his research papers that it was an iron shell, in fact. So they were not sure what exactly it was. So it was only when Siddhan Gowder, so he was serving in the archaeological department, who had been to Woolwich, because we have few rockets at Woolwich and three at Bangalore Museum. I believe it's not on gallery now. I think most of the people cannot go and visit. But when he went to Woolwich, and he was able to realize that what we found in Nagara is nothing but one of the important component of modern rocket. So they are the metal cased tubes, in fact. So I would like you to just watch them, and just when you go through those pictures, you can realize that they are of various sizes. They are of not standard sizes. You can find of various sizes. So I'll come back to it later on. So this is something you need to remember. Okay, just like me and other people. So we all have gone through the Mahabharata and Ramayana. So this is an Ramayana sculpture from the Velu temple. So we have seen in the TVs how arrows were fired between the Rama's army and the Ravana's army. And something very interesting, the Kuluguru of Rama is Vasishtha, who is also the author of Dhanurveda Samhita. So which tells very briefly about 117 different types of arrows, and one of them is Nalika Bana. It's in Sanskrit. So just remember the word Nalika Bana. So we'll go through it later on. So just remember those things. Okay, now I'll be starting from the 16th century. I'm not going a little bit ahead from that. So we all know about 1526 when Babur came to India. So we all have been taught in the schools that when Babur came into India, he brought huge cannons and it changed the warfare in India. So before that, so we always used to fight with spears, with bow and arrow, swords and everything. It was a close combat war. So we had what you call mud forts made out of bamboo. In fact, the Ikeri fort was made of bamboo, in fact. So these were the forts. But when cannons came into picture, the whole dimension of warfare changed, in fact. So the forts built of stone was of not much use, in fact. So this is something we have learned. But interestingly, Sesha Suri, so who was also the king of Bengal, in fact. So Bengal is an important territory. So I'll come back to it because just remember it. So when I go there, so you'll get to know, in fact. So which was famous for producing arms, in fact. They had various factories at various places in Bengal, UP and Bihar, which were famous for producing different types of weapons. So Sesha Suri, so he defeated Humayun, and he was at Delhi, in fact. So if you look at those his history, so they say that when one of the arrows, one of the fire arrows, that is nothing but rockets, which was fired, it came back and fell on one of the ammunition, in fact. So and he was half burnt, in fact. Sesha Suri was half burnt, but because half burnt, also he still continued the war, in fact. So we get to know that war rockets were still there, and Sesha Suri was using it, in fact. Now we come to Akbar. See, we have Babar Nama, Akbar Nama, and Jahangir Nama. In fact, Babar Nama was written in his own mother tongue, Chugatai, what we call in fact, whereas Akbar Nama and Jahangir Nama was written in Persian, but now it has been translated into English, so most of you can go ahead and look into it. And today I'm picking only those interesting factors which are related to war rockets, because I am going to prove on contemporary literature, manuscripts, and paintings. Okay. So now, if you look at, so we know very well that Akbar knew about war rockets. So it clearly mentions of war rockets, and these are not the wooden rockets. These are metal cased rockets. He briefly mentions at various places about war rockets. You can just go through it. He tells the last two lines, very important. He says that they were manufactured of thin metal sheets. The rockets were manufactured by thin metal sheets, and how they were fired. The Akbar says that they were fired through hand over using the camels, using the elephants. So Akbar knew everything about rockets, but more emphasis was given on cannons. So rockets was just the what you call a small firearm in the arsenal of Akbar, in fact. So the same thing here. So it says that he also says that a rocket can reach 1,000 yards. So it's mentioned in his Akbar Nama. So briefly mentioning about different aspects of war rockets and iron cased war rockets, in fact. Okay, now we come to Jahangir. So when you come to Jahangir Nama again, so he fought a war with Ahmednagar, and Ahmednagar was defended by Malik Ambar. I think most of the people would know who Malik Ambar is, in fact. He was a genius, in fact, because the type he was very good at constructing forts, defensive forts, in fact. In the similar way, he was also very famous for inventing new weapons, in fact. And the warfare also, he was very genius, and he had his innovative way of fighting wars, in fact. So here, when he was fighting with Jahangir, he used rockets, in fact. And look at what Jahangir says. When you look at the history of Jahangir and Malik Ambar, so Jahangir hated Malik Ambar like anything, in fact. A lot of sarcastic comments he has given about Malik Ambar. So he says that those rockets are nothing but fireworks. The rockets which were used by Malik Ambar doesn't harm me anything. So he says that it's just a firecracker, a fire rocket, which we use nowadays in Deepavali. So nothing more than that. But what is very important is that Malik Ambar knew about metal cased rockets. And here we come to one more interesting thing. This is something all must understand. See, he had a lot of generals under him. Malik Ambar had a lot of generals under him. So coming from most of them were Marathas, some of them were Turkish, some of them were Mughals. So I'm just concentrating on three names, and if you look at those names there, I don't know how many people can get to know. One is Lakhoji Jadhav Rao, Maloji Bhosle, and Shahji Bhosle. These people learned everything about warfare, anything related to administrative, everything from Malik Ambar. The first two people, they wanted to convert their friendship into a relation, and Lakhoji Jadhav gave his daughter to the son of Maloji Bhosle. Shahji Bhosle is the son of Maloji Bhosle, and Shivaji is born to those people, in fact. So we get to know that Shivaji, his father Shahaji, and his grandfathers knew very well about rockets. So they knew in and out of how to use war rockets, and they themselves have fought in the wars using the rockets, in fact. So this is something very important. So there is another instance wherein the Mughal contemporary literature says rockets were used in different wars, in fact. So one of the wars was fought when Shah Jahan was ill, in fact. So I can say the Battle of Succession. So wherein Dhara Shikoh, the eldest, was on one side, and Aurangzeb and Murad Bakshi were on the other side, and both of them have used war rockets, in fact. So cannons were the important ones, but war rockets was also important. So they were fired from the camel and from the elephant. So this is not what I am saying. This is what the contemporary literature says, in fact. Now coming to the Vijayanagara, this is very important. So in Kannada we always say Billu Bana, but suddenly in the 16th century the term comes into existence where we say it's written here Bana Birso. Billu Bana is different. So we all know Billu and Bana. Bana Birusu is nothing but war rocket. This is something we need to understand. Agni Bana, Akasha Bana. So if you go through a lot of literature of Vijayanagara period, you get to know these terms in fact. And there are a lot of feudal lords are small polygars and big polygars under Vijayanagara, but I'm highlighting on only those things. You'll get to know why I'm doing that. So the Nayakas of Ikkeri, the Nayakas of Tanjavur, they were later on replaced by the Bhosles of Tanjavur. Again, it's a Maratha clan in fact. Then we have the Nayakas of Madurai, Setupatis of Ramnad, so Rameshwara, everything. And one of the small kingdom comes into existence later on. The Rani who fought very well with the British with the help of Hyder, in fact. So rockets were also used there. So I'll come back to it later. Then we have the Mysore Wadayas, in fact. So I was telling we need to prove this on contemporary literature, in fact. So we need to go back there. And all of them will definitely be in Kannada or either in Sanskrit. And when we say Kannada, so it will be in the in Kavya Rupa, in fact. So it is a little bit difficult to understand. But one of the manuscripts, Kantirava Narsimha Raja Vijaya, just like Keradinupa Vijaya. So it tells about the different aspects about warfare, about the Raja himself, the Raja of Wadayara. And this was written by Govinda Vaidya, and he was commissioned by the king himself. So definitely he would have written what he had seen, in fact. And Dr. Sharma Sastri, so he has edited, and we have it in the book, in fact. So you can get it anywhere. It's available on digital also. But he has not, I think, Anuradha madam must tell me, he has not elaborated, in fact. He has just written what is there on the palm leaf into book, in fact. So I think there is a lot of scope for other people to just transform that, in fact. So it's in the Kavya Rupa, in fact. See, there are different chapters. You need to go through it. So I need to tell one story, small story, so they'll get to know. There was 4 expeditions from the Adil Shahi in this particular region, in Karnataka, in fact. So, and it was carried forward by Rana Uddala Khan, who was one of the famous generals. Afzal Khan was there, Shahaji was there. And what he did was he started defeating one of the kings and took him into his army and proceeded further. So he attacked, in December 1637, he attacked Ikkeri, the then capital of the Nayakas, the Keldi Nayakas. In 1638, the 9th of January, the whole, the capital, the king capital was burned down, and they were forced to sign the treaty. And Veerabhadra Nayaka, the king at that time, was forced to provide his army for future campaign. And the general of Keldi at that time was none other than Shivappa Nayaka. So they were forced to join the Ikkeri, the Ranadullah Khan's army. So Ranadullah Khan and 12 other feudal lords, they attacked one after another small countries. Bangalore was also attacked, and Shaji, the local Palegara, was transferred to Magadi, and the Bangalore was given as a Jahagir to Shaji. Very interestingly, some of the portion of this particular region was also given to Shivappa Nayaka. So this is something a lot of people don't know. And Shivappa Nayaka did not take the Jagir. He in fact donated that to a small mutt called as Harapnalli mutt, which is just 14 kilometers from Shimoga. And till today, a lot of Kata in and around Bangalore still shows the name Harapnalli Matta from Shimoga. So this is how Shivappa Nayaka got those. So these are in Halegarada. So when you go through it, so you get to know that they are speaking about iron cased war rockets. And interestingly, we get to know that both Ikkeri as well as Mysore, both of them had war rockets, in fact. It was not just Ikkeri, both of them had war rockets. See the first one, so when you look at Kariya Maddina Titti Banada Heruga, so it says that Titti is nothing but iron tube, in fact. Kari Madda is nothing gunpowder, okay. This is the local Malnad, we still speak that. So it says that when iron tube filled with gunpowder was fired, and they came in lakhs together, in fact. So it mentions how the war rockets. So it's in Kavya Rupa, that's how they write it, in fact. See, Singadi is nothing but, it's a launcher, rocket launcher. An equipment to launch the rockets. So the same that, so they keep on highlighting how it was. Kari Maddina Pottanada Katti Dambina. So Ambu is nothing but an arrowhead, in fact. So the gunpowder was with the tube was attached to the head of the arrow in fact. So you can get to know how the Chelu Bana, see this, look at the second one, Chelu Bana, it's the type of the Bana. When you look at the Scorpio, so if you have, it's like they mentioned, Kave Golu is nothing but four. So they say a type of arrow which is called as Chelu Bana. So it was shot and see, Basma the Kopparige, so when it was fired and so the ashes were, so there were a lot of ash in there. So it says Basma the Kopparige, Salodoppidavu Durgadolage. So when it was fired into the rockets, were fired into the fort in fact. See here, Ratal Uppu. Ratal Uppu is nothing but saltpetra. The other name of saltpetra. So petrol is nothing but I think petrol. So we use it in fact. So still nowadays in Dupoli, so it's a what do you call it? It's a local boys they still use it in fact. This is how the arms are manufactured in fact. So it says Singadia is again that same rocket launchers. So they say how it was, they used to rise in the sky and it used to harm the, see Chule Batra. Chule Batra is nothing but, we call people who carry cane. So see the tubes were, what you call, were tied to a cane. In fact, the person who carries them was called as Chule Battaro. Kovi Battaro is nothing but the person who takes Kovis in fact. So we had matchlocks, we had what you call rockets, we had rifles, everything. Karnataka Kovi they mentioned. What I say that we are having best of the Karnataka Kovi, so everything was there. So Kovi Battara is the one who operates this one. Chule Battara is nothing but the one who operates rockets in fact. He says that when the rockets were fired in the sky, so it was very beautiful to watch that in fact. And this is something again 2 centuries later the English say it was a joy to watch those rockets flying all over the sky in fact. So here the second para says that they were also fired from within the fort in fact. The fort belongs to the Mysore in fact. So that clearly says that Mysore also had war rockets. It was just not Ikeri, it was also the Mysore also. So the same thing. So they keep on. So we have a lot of them in fact. So this is the Pattanada Lagyasana. So it's a different topic. So I have not brought all of them here, but there are around 20-30 pages which are which focuses on different types of rockets, different types of matchlocks used. So there is a lot of scope. So if someone wants, they can do research and different types of ammunition used in the warfare. 1638. This took place in 1638 to 1640. They can do that in fact. So similarly, so different types of rockets. See, Surasura Surendra, Kesurigareta. So it produced saffron flame. Surasura Surendra. And on the Limba, the Kichu, Ambina Tudigerisi, the Pottana Duppa. So it says about different types of, he's mentioning about different types of rockets in fact. See, Ambaravella, Bana Galuri, Chaudesi Tumbida, Kovia Gundu, Kumbini Singadi, Mbia, Mayawagi, Imbu Goda, Ranjisido. So it was a joy to see, look at them in fact. So some of them, he says that some of the rockets used to fly so high that similar to the Garuda in fact. We know that eagle flies very high in fact. So some of the rockets used to fly so this is also, I'm just not going through it, so it tells about different types of rockets in fact. So now I'll come back to Sri Shivatattva Ratnakara, again a contemporary literature, and this was written by Basuraja Nayaka, the adopted son of the famous Rani named as Rani Chennamma. And see, this was as per the dates, it was I think it was written on 1706, but it took around 10 years most probably. So everything mentioned here is belongs to the period of 16th and 17th century. Okay, and he mentions about a lot of things. It's a walking encyclopedia. He mentions about warfare, forts, and ammunitions, and how an administration should be run, about urban planning, everything, a lot of things in fact. So, and this is written in Sanskrit again. So you need to just translate that into English, or you need to translate that into Kannada. See, there is a special topic wherein he mentions about arrows. And as we all know, war rockets were again called as Bana. So it was called by, they called it as Bana by, even the Mughals used the same term, the Marathas, the Tamil Nayakas, so everyone used the same term in fact. In fact, Hyder also used the same term. It was only during 1792 that Tipu changed the name. Subha, that means a Persian term in fact. So fighting shooting stars, in fact. So till then we all know it by the name Bana, in fact. That is a local language, in fact. See, here it mentions about different types of arrows, in fact. So just have a look at here. It says that there are three types of arrows. Gandu, Hennu, Napunsaka. So, and he says how they are different, in fact. So we'll not just concentrate on that now. So all you need to do is just the last four lines. Here he mentions about different types of iron war rockets and how they look like, in fact. Just have a look at the last one. Aru Mukha. So it means six-faced, in fact. Shrupa, Gopucha. Gopucha is nothing but the tail of the cow, in fact. Ardha Chandaka, this is very important. Ardha Chandaka is nothing but the crescent moon. This is very important, and it was used by the Marathas, by the Ikkeris, and even by the Mysore, in fact. So this is very important. Ardha Chandaka. And Suchi Mukha, this is also in, but all of them are in Sanskrit, in fact. Valla is nothing but ET, okay. So a rocket which was tied to the ET, in fact, the spear, lancer. And if it is two sides, then it is called as Dviballaka. So it's already written there. Kaka Tundu. So he says the last one is very important. He says that these are the one used in our regions, and there are also many of them used in different regions. So it clearly says that in the 16th and 17th century, different war rockets with different warheads were already there. And he says that this is what we have in our region, but in other regions it might vary, in fact. This is again one more important. He says about a particular arrow, iron arrow, and just look at the term Nalika. It is a Sanskrit, as I said, in Dhanur Veda Samhita, Nalika Bana. So it is an iron tube arrow. So it is called by that particular word, and this is the word which is again used by the Marathas, in fact. It's not a coincidence, okay. He says that metal tube, the arrow is used wherein it is where it shoots into the sky or goes and flies into the rocket, in the fort, and they use a rocket launcher, in fact. Now, what we call as Nallika, we use it, Koviya Nalli. So these are the terms what we use, in fact. Bandukina Nalli. So these are nothing but tube, in fact. So it is a tube-styled, arrows, in fact. So these are all contemporary literatures. All we need to do is just translate that into English and let the world know what exactly it is. And similarly, we have one more contemporary literature belonging to the Ikkeri, in fact. So Kelvi Nupavijan. So it says everything about the kings of Kelvi, in fact. See again, look at the word. It says on 21st of November 1735, the king by the name Somshekara Nayaka, he says that he goes into a particular region called as Basmana Bana, mounted on a vehicle, special vehicle, which is called as Nalaki. And he goes there and he receives rich tributes from the different administrative officers, from different polygars under him, in fact. So they came and paid rich tributes to him, and he comes back to his palace. But interestingly, Nalika Yama is nothing but it's a rocket launcher, in fact. And the news spreads everywhere, and the Nizam gets very angry, and the next year he comes over to Bidnur and wages a war, in fact. So the Nizam of Hyderabad, he comes and he wages a war, all because of that particular rocket launcher. This is, I'll tell you why they came over and fought a war with him. But anyway, Somshekara Nayaka was able to win that war, in fact. And it all happened because of that particular weapon and launcher, in fact. See, again, one more very interesting. So we all know about Mayakonda war. Again, this was fought by Basappa Nayaka, in fact. So Harapnalli Palegar and the Nawab of Savnur and Rayadurga Palegar were on side. On the other side, it was Madakari Nayaka, Chand Sahib and Double Sahib of the Carnatic, in fact. And Kasturi Rangappa was the son of Madakari Nayaka. In this war, in fact, it was such a brutal war that Madakari Nayaka was caught, and in fact he was beheaded, in fact. And the next year itself, because of that victory what was obtained by the Keladi Nayakas, they donated a lot of vessels and golden ornaments to Kollur, and one of the vessels has an inscription which clearly says that because of the victory and since they were able to behead the Madakari Nayaka, so he has donated it, in fact. And very interestingly, Puttanna, I think you can get it on digital. So way back in 1922, there was a special lecture organized by Mysore University. I think Mysore University came into existence in 1919, if I'm not wrong. So they had a seminar wherein Puttanna, who had done a lot of research on the Palegars of Chitradurga and Harapanalli, he says that one of the rockets used by the Ikkere at Harapanalli was called as Harapanalli Bana, and he has given a description which is still available and which is published by the Mysore University, which clearly defines about iron rocket impact. So we have one more, and 1922, it's almost 100 years old in fact. See, there is an important, interesting, similarity between few of the literary works of Ikkeri as well as the Marathas. In fact, we all know that Raja Rama took asylum in at Bidnur, in fact, under Rani Chennamma, and coincidentally, the age of Basavaraja Nayaka, who wrote Shivatattva Rayaka, and that of Raja Rama was same, in fact. So we have got a lot of histories and a lot of places which relate about Raja Ram, in fact. So Ramachandra Pant, he also served Shivaji, in fact, but it was during the time of Raja Ram that he was made to write a military manual, in fact, just on the similar terms of Shivatattva Ratnakara. See, in Shivatattva Ratnakara, they mention about war rockets and how they should be placed in the arsenal. What all items should be placed in the fort, in fact, like the grains, different types of ammunition. So they mention about one thing. They mention about one thing which is again repeated in the similar way in this Atnya Patra. It's a military manual for the Marathas, and it is written in Marathi Modi Lipi. So it's all because of Shahaji Maharaj. I think in 1710, I think he got it translated. It was in the manuscripts. He got it translated into his own Marathi language, but it took long time to get translated into English. Now we have it in English. So here he mentions about what a king should maintain in the fort, in fact, and he clearly mentions about Bana, and Bana means rockets here, in fact. So they always differentiate between the other arrow what we speak and the war rockets, in fact. So you get to know. So he mentions about the matchlocks, different types of matchlocks, spears with strings, bows and arrows, and also about rockets, in fact. See here, this is something very interesting. He says the tunum, in fact, so how it should be, the arsenal, how it should be, and there should be an officer who should, every 15 days or 1 month, he should remove all the rockets and put it in sunlight and then keep it back. See, when we buy crackers, what we do? So we put it in sunlight. We know what will happen, in fact. And one more interesting thing, which is mentioned here as well as in Shivatattva Ratnakara, they say that you need to tie a red fabric over these rockets. Because we know about Malnad and even the Western Ghats at Maharashtra. So after the rainy seasons, we have insects, a lot of insects comes in, and that's the reason that they say they prefer a red fabric cloth as well as red paint, because a lot of foreign travelers, they come and they say that most of the houses have red paints here. So it's a repellent for the insects. This is very important again. So they mention about rockets and everything, how every 15 days what they should see, palakas of rockets. So they mentioned in brief about rockets, in fact. So this is from the Maratha document. So one more Maratha document. See, the Battle of Daubai. So you can go into Google and just mention. So it was fought between two Maratha generals. See, Maratha, when we say Maratha, a lot of people need to understand. When we say Maratha Empire, some people say Confederacy. So, because there are a lot of royal families or generals who come together and make Maratha Empire. It's just not Peshwa of Pune. We have the Holkars, Gaikwads, Patvardhans of Miraj, in fact, Jamkhandi. We have our Gorpade, Tanjavur, Bhosles of Tanjavur, Bhosles of Nagpur. So, plenty of them, in fact. So all of them come together and make Maratha Empire. So, two of them fought at this particular place on 28th March to 1st April, okay? And this is in Bakhtar, again in Modi Lipi. So it was recently, some of the scholars are indulging in research and they're translating that into English and other language. That's how we get to know. See, here we have the two different parties and the generals who fought under them. So it's between Bajirao and Timbakrao Dabade. What Timbakrao Dabade does is he sends his team to estimate how much force that Bajirao has, how much elephants he has, how much guns he has, how much camels he has, okay? And this is what is written in Bakhtar. We are just translating it. I'm not doing anything there. So he clearly mentions, so these are the the armies of different generals over there. So just look at the barn over there, in fact. 10,000 barn, that is nothing but rocket. They have 10,000 rockets, and there are two types of launchers, Sutarnal and Hatnal. Hatnal is the one, the rocket launcher which is mounted on the elephants. The other one is the camel. So I'll not indulge into the other things. So there are plenty of them. They were even also carried on the Gujarati ox, in fact. So they tell about how war rockets were used. And this was in 1731 when Hyder was just 10 years old. So I'm telling about 1731. And he also mentions that the war rockets, they were practiced at an abandoned village so that they can precisely target a particular target, in fact. So this is the precision with which they fired, in fact. That is in 1731. And when Hyder was just 10 years old, okay. So this is one more contemporary literature, in fact. So this is again, the page number I have written, so anyone wants to take the photograph and you can Google it and find it out, okay. They say that when an English bomb vessel attacked the Creek of Thane, so it was bombarded with rockets, in fact, and the soldiers in the ship, they had to, some of them were drowned and some of them were caught alive, in fact. And the Maratha term for that is Chadar of Ban. So blanket of the saturation of rockets, in fact. That is a common term what they use, in fact. So, and this happened in 1733. See, again, one more daftar, okay. We all know about what exactly daftar is, in fact. So again, the page number is there, so anyone can take it and just check it for yourself. So they say the Banaka Kandhava, so that is the Marathi language. So that is the term they used, in fact. So they say, and the one who used it, Banandaj, Tiranjad. Tir is different, this is Banandaj. So Banandaj is nothing but the one who fires the rocket. Tirandaj is the one who uses the other rockets, what you call the arrow, in fact. So this is again something very important. So one more war between the Peshwa and the Hyderabad. So here Bajirao writes a letter, and this is translated again. So it's in the Marathi, I'm not using it here. So the last line, just look at the last line. He says that they halted at a place which was 2 times the rocket range of the Nizam. So they were so accurate, they knew exactly what is the range of the rocket, in fact. So I'm more interested in that particular line. So he says, we are now sitting at a range of twice the rocket range from the Nawab of. So this is, they didn't know what exactly is the range. So they did not go ahead because they were in the, they could get fired, in fact, from rockets. And one more interesting thing, we also get to know that Nizam also had rockets, in fact, the Hyderabad Nizams. It's just not the Mysore, even the Nizams had rockets, in fact. See, this is something more important. M.H. Khan Kirmani, I think this is Hyder Naik. So he was commissioned by the Hyder himself, who wrote about Hyder, his ancestors and everything. So this is very important because Fateh Muhammad, he is the father of Hyder. And we all know that how they came all the way from Delhi through Gulbarga, they went to Adishai of Bijapur, and they came to Kolar. From Kolar, he went to Tanjavur, in fact, the Carnatics. Hyder's father and his father's elder brother, so they were part of the rocket regiment. So Hyder's ancestors, they knew about rockets, in fact. So he was under the rocket man, in fact. So he served for few times at Tanjavur, the Carnatic Arcot, in fact. He again came back to Mysore, and for some time he was working under the Mughal viceroy of Karnataka, which is Sira, in fact. So he was working there, and he knew very well about rockets. Who? Hyder's father, in fact. See, again, the same thing says that when Hyder attacked Chikkaballapure, Ghorpade, we know about Ghorpade, okay? They are again one of the important Maratha royal family, in fact. So Ghorpade fired rockets on Hyder, in fact. They fired rockets, they knew about rockets, so they used it very efficiently on Hyder. So it was not only Hyder who used it on other people, so there were other people also who used it very efficiently on Hyder, in fact. And same rockets were used against English. See, one more very important, see, till date, when we go into the Google and Wikipedia, they say the first descriptive definition of a rocket by an English was done by Edward Moore, and this was done in 1792 during the Third Anglo-Mysore War. So this is what people believe, and this is what the English people have been telling, in fact. So they have been cheating us, in fact. So here we have one more Englishman who at the age of 16 years, came down to India as a writer at Bombay. He says 17 years of residence at Bombay, in fact, and during his time here, resident in India, so he went to different areas of Marathas, and he also had he visited or traveled with the Marathas during their wars, in fact. So he happened to be at one of the wars fought between the Peshwas and the Nizam, and he was a live witness, and he mentions very descriptively of the war rockets, and this in fact is the first descriptive mention of war rockets, and not the one Edward Moore mentions about Tipu's rocket. See, this war was fought again in Karnataka itself. So near Bidar, so just towards the north of Bidar, there is a river which flows, which is known as Manjira, in fact. So there, the two wars is fought between Raghoba, he's nothing but Raghunath Rao. So he was there for just a few months of time. So it was fought between them for 20 days. And there he mentions about this. I want you to read this very elaborately because you'll get to know what is the difference between Tipu's rocket and Maratha's rocket. So he says, the war rocket used by the Marathas, which very often annoyed us, is composed of an iron tube 8 or 10 inches long and near 2 inches in diameter. This destructive weapon is sometimes fixed to a rod of an iron, sometimes to a straight two-edged sword, but most commonly to a strong bamboo cane 4 or 5 feet long with an iron spike projecting beyond the tube. To this rod or stop, the tube filled with combustible. So we get to know that there are three types of arrows. One is tied to a iron rod, the other one is tied to a sword, and the third one is the cane rockets. But Tipu and Hyder rockets were only tied to cane. They never used any rockets which were tied to a sword. Okay, this is very important. Nowhere else you will find these type of swords. These type of swords were only used by the Marathas, and we get definitions from Ikeri sources that they also used it, in fact. So, but we don't have live examples. See, one more. This happened during the Third Anglo-Maratha War. So Captain Little Regiments was part of the army led by Parshuram Bhave, in fact, one of the Patvardhans of Meeraj and Jamkhandi. So he mentions about the rockets. He says that the rocket skirmish which took place between the Hyder and the Marathas, it was a joy to watch. They did not do anything, but it was joy to watch. And these are the similar phrases which was again mentioned in the war between Ikeri and the Mysore, in fact. So here, this is the one what people always say that this was the first descriptive definition of a war rocket, but it's definitely not. It is the Forbes mention, which is here he mentions that rocket is the one which is tied to a cane. He never mentions about sword or tied to a what you call metal, in fact. See, we need to get to know where exactly the factories were located, okay? And I'm just mentioning about one of the factories. I'm not mentioning about all the factories because this factory is located very close by to Shimoga. This is again during the Third Anglo-Mysore War. He says, the fort of Turkanalli, commonly called Truknelli, a place famous for making rockets, was taken after a series of few days. And this is very close by to Shimoga, and it took me 5 years to find this area, in fact, because there is no place by that name, Turkanalli or Truknalli, okay? So I just searched it, and I thought it's an abandoned village. So, and what I did was I started searching for the iron slag. See, when lakhs of rockets are manufactured, so definitely there should be a huge amount of iron slag. When I say iron slag, it should be so huge that there should be a mountain of iron slag, in fact. And I got it, in fact. See, there are 5. So this is very close by to Ainur, near Shimoga. We have Tamadihalli and Sirigere, Chatnahalli, Idikehalli, and there is one more place called as Turkanhalli. Now it's not on the map because we have a record, a narrative by an English officer called as May Hardy. He says that the Turkanhalli fort was damaged and there is no existence of Turkanhalli fort. So it was totally destroyed. So it's absolutely not there on the fort now. So, and I also found out different places wherein the iron slags, different places where iron slags were found. And interestingly, at all the places, there is a Shiva temple. So we call it in Kerala, we call it as Panchalingeshwara. So you can see Malay Shankara, Gurgule Shankara, Koduru Shankara, Hunchatkate Shankara, Alse Shankara. All of them are very famous, and there is a small story that says that Shivappa Nayaka used to visit all the temples at the same time. And Shankara, so this is part of the original Shankara State Forest. And Chettiali and Sakrebailu Elephant Camp are part of this Shankara State Forest, in fact. See, these are lost they say that villagers say that the hills of iron slag was so large that they took a lot of pain to dispose of it. In fact, so they were freely disposed of. So thanks to our NHI, so they have taken them freely and they have dumped it on the highways. In fact, so see, all of them are iron slags. In fact, still today you can find different parts of furnaces, and we have also found rocket pieces also there. In fact. So this is an old unpublished map of Biddur, in fact. So I'm just small part. I'm releasing it here, in fact. So it says about different regions of the see the D and this one E. So these are the places wherein the gunpowder and the rockets were manufactured, in fact. So this is the Google impact. So wherein it clearly says that this is one of the rockets which we got at Nagara. So Dr. Srijeshwar Naik, he's again with the archaeological department. He conducted various tests on this one. So you get to know that it's made out of low carbon steel. When I say low carbon steel, it's UCO. So when we say UCO, I think it's definitely proven that it's Indians. We know very well about UCO, in fact. And two plates, in fact, they were rolled by soft hammering, and two billas were closed. In fact, this is the head and that is the nozzle. In fact, you have a small hole there to put the fuse there, in fact. And there was a refractory item inside, which is nothing but red clay, in fact. And we also found the place wherein that was done. It is called as Kempmannu Tatti, tapping of red clay. It's still there in Biddur, okay. So this is an example of the rockets at Woolwich, in fact, and the one at Bangalore. And this is a random tubes which we got at Nagara, in fact. So which correlates with what we have right now. See, when we did the experiment, they say that all of them have carbon in the percentage of 0.03 to 0.3. So when the carbon percentage is very less, that means that you can easily roll it, okay. And one of the industrialists, I asked him, so he's a chemical engineer. I said, with all the technology, how many rockets can you manufacture with low carbon? He said, I cannot do it, in fact. So when they have done it lakhs of together, I said, how is it possible? He said, there is just one option available. Those people knew very well that which mine produced an iron which had low carbon content. That is the only way to manufacture lakhs and lakhs of rockets. There is no other way you can produce lakhs of rockets with low percentage, carbon percentage, in fact. See, this is one more very close by to, it's in the possession of one of the relative of Keldi Nayakas. It's an iron, it looks an iron arrow. So we had that Maratha, this one, where they say that it's tied to one of the iron metal, this one. So we have a live example. It's 300 grams and 3.5 feet, in fact. See, Colin Mackenzie took a lot of items, manuscripts from India, and from Bidnur he took one of them and he labeled it as Bana Barasu Krama. It should be Bana Birsu Krama. But the other thing is very important, rules for the fabrication of gunpowder and preparing rockets and artificial fireworks. So the technology for manufacturing rockets as well as fireworks was the same. In Keldi as well as in other parts of Karnataka, we always celebrate the boat festival, I mean the Teposava or the cart festival, by firing, okay, and this is taking place from centuries long, and we used to fire rockets, in fact, the fireworkers, in fact. So, and two more are there in the Oriental, in fact. So anyone can go and read. So today, one of them I'm just, see, this was in the Oriental Institute of this one. So very curious, so anyone can just handle this paper here. So it mentions about 116 different types of rockets, name of rockets, with the weight of the saltpeter, sulfur and charcoal. They are given it because we all think it's 75%, 15 and 10%. That is what we think, but here they have varied it, in fact. So here they mention about different types of arrows that can be used for horses, for camels, for ane. See, for animals, in fact, the forest department, they give crackers. So normal firecrackers, if you use against the elephants, they will not go away. So you need to use a rocket or a firecracker which produces a lot of sound, in fact. So this is how they differentiated, and they also mention about the last line, Muttina Kai Battige. It is nothing but how the fuse is created, in fact. 116 different types of names, so anyone can just handle it if you want someone. Now we'll come back to the pictures. Now contemporary pictures. So a picture, as you say, it's worth 1,000 words. So I'll go through contemporary paintings just to show that there are a lot of paintings. You can even Google it out, but we never recognized that they were rockets, in fact. State procession of Raja Tulsaji of Tanjore, See, 76, you can just have a photo, in fact, so you can just Google it and it will pop up, in fact. All of them are in the Saraswati Bhandar, easily available. See, the rocket flags, the triangle shape, what they are holding it is nothing but a rocket flag stop, in fact. So the rocket head is at the bottom, and on the top they have the national, their state flag, in fact. This is how it used to be in those days, in fact. So flag at the other end, the rocket at the other end, in fact. So look at those. So they're all holding rockets, in fact. So you need to go into that Google picture and just go a little bit, because I cannot enlarge it here, in fact. I'll try to do it. So this is very important. Murshidabad again. And look at the year, see, 1770, 1765. So well before Hyder Ali became popular, so they had rockets. And Britishers were part of the Tanjavur, in fact. So British officers used to visit those people, in fact. See here, after the camel, just have a look at. After the camel, there is a particular equipment carried on the ox. It is nothing but rocket launcher. And just behind the elephant, you find people with rocket flags, and hand rocket launchers. I'm just gonna see, just look at it. So I'm just zooming in. So this is the way. So what they have is rocket launchers and rockets. So you can just Google it in this one and just get it. See, this is Gentils. A person by the Gentil, I think he has what you call painted 64 pictures, and he was mainly in the Mughal area, the West Bengal and everything. So here it's the right side you have the British, on the left side you have the Nawab of Oudh's army, and the British army as well as the Oudh army. If you go and Google and if you enlarge the photo, you find rockets in both the armies, in fact. So even British has the rockets, and these people have the rockets. 1774. And we tell that British got to know about rockets only when they came to Mysore. Again, one more. This is about Marathas attacking the English. And when you Google it and enlarge it, you'll get to know that Marathas carry rockets, in fact. This is 64 paintings of Gentils. You can just go through it, in fact. Very interesting. During the first Anglo-Maratha wars, we have got a lot of narratives which says that a lot of officers were killed by Maratha rockets. And one of them is this is a plaque which is at one of the memorial ground or cemetery at one of the famous church at Bombay. It says Lieutenant Colonel Rockpay was injured and he was killed, and he died following 4th January 1779 during the Anglo-Maratha War. So look at this. So there are a lot of British officers who died because of Maratha arrows, in fact. So one more belonging to Tanjavur, 1780. So look at those. Those are rockets, in fact. And here we come to the Tipu's rocket. Okay, it is just nothing but simple, and all of them are very standard, in fact, not about varying lengths, in fact, tied to the cane, and the other hand we have the flag, in fact. See, Tipu. This is very important, okay. 7th March 1791 at Bangalore itself, wherein one of the British officers got killed by the rockets, and on the top of the fort you can see, so they are directing the rockets using their hands, bare hands, in fact. This is what we have been doing in engineering days. We used to fly rockets through hands from one barrack to another barrack. This is what we have done. I'm just gonna zoom in, okay? Look at that. You can see the rocket, which is unbusted. It just went and hit him and he died, that's it. These are not the Maratha rockets I'm speaking of. Maratha rockets were more terrific and more dangerous than. And look at the way he's firing it, in fact. So you can just go and enlarge it. These are available on Google, in fact. So one more Tanjavur painting. All are in Saraswati Bhandar. So this is about Datia. It is very near to Bundelkhand in MP. So that ruler also had rockets. So look at this. The rockets on the left side, in fact. So you can have a look. So I have zoomed in. So those are the rockets, in fact. So 1800, after the death of Tipu, in fact. So one more from Mewar, Udaipur. So most of the people had it, in fact. So it was a part of their arsenal, in fact. This is again about Tipu. So Tipu is this one. So see, this is in 1812. See, they had the British, after the fall of Tipu, they had a what you call regiment for rockets, but it was not based in Bombay or what you call Karnataka, Mysore or Madras. It was in Bengal. So I'll just come back to it. Why it was in Bengal? Okay. So all the regiments, okay. And this is about Oudh, Nawab of Oudh. So they have the state flag there. So these are the rocket boys, and they carry the rocket. So look at the differences. The last one is from Chitradurga, in fact, that belongs to Tipu, and the middle two belongs to the Nawab of Oudh, in fact. So look at the rockets, in fact. See, different paintings from different English people at different part of time. So I have mentioned 1799, 1820. Look at the different. So he has visited different places. So the rockets were there all over India, in fact, not only Mysore. So look at them, in fact. So again, West Bengal, in fact. See, this is very interesting. This is one of the Veer Gallu or Mahasatikal, which was found very close to Baise, in fact. And if you closely look at it, so we have what you call ET to the this one. So, and if you on close examination, we find that it is nothing but a rocket again. And on the top, we have a triangle flag. All rocket flags, most of them Marathas and Ikeris and Tanjavur, they had triangle shaped. This is very important. All of them had similarities, in fact. Now, a lot of rockets were taken and presented to different officers and the king and queen at England, and now slowly they are coming out, in fact. So most of them are getting auctioned. Now we are getting a lot of live rockets. Now I'm going to show them, in fact. So here we have a group of rockets which were presented to the king before 1806, as per the inventory, before 1806. And these are definitely not the one belonging to Hyder and Tipu. Look at the way, 6 of them, okay. And see, at one of the place where the tube is tied, so they have made it plain, so they can easily tie it, in fact. And these are still available, and they are in the possession of one of the important royal family, in fact. This is the flag of Oudh, in fact. Look at the way it is tied. Some of them were tied with leather and some of them with cane, in fact. Look at them. These are in England, in fact. But see, this is the Maratha rocket, what I am speaking. This doesn't belong to Hyder or Tipu. These are the Maratha rockets, and the inventory they have mentioned, it's a Maratha rocket. Look at the sword, in fact. And if you want a rocket to fly with a sword, imagine the technology what they have, in fact. It's far more superior than Hyder and Tipu, in fact. These are live rockets. Look at them. One more rocket from one of this was auctioned and taken by an important family, and they have, see, that is the crescent, what I was talking. The one mentioned in Shivatattva Ratnakara, they say there are different types of arrowhead, and one was called as, I just mentioned it, Ardha Chandaka, that is crescent shape. So we have one there, in fact. So we don't have one belonging to Ikkeri, but we have one belonging to the Maratha. And these type of long blades, so they were, the manufacturing of those type of blades were stopped before 1768, seems. So it's before Hyder came into picture, in fact. And look at, important thing, why they are wrapped in red fabric, in fact. I was speaking about the red fabric, why they used to. So it is in repellent to the insect, because these rockets were used in areas, not only in warfare, also in the warfare of in the sea, in fact. So we know what exactly happens when you have rockets in the sea, in fact. Very important. So one more Anglo-Maratha war, which was fought between the Bhosles of Nagpur and the British. And we have got a lot of narratives to say that when this war was fought very close to the Nagpur port, live rockets were retained very recently, and that particular area is in the Indian Army, and they have given it to the the museum there. And ironically, they thought it is a sword. In fact, it's still sitting in the museum, and they call it as. And this is the 1817. So well after Tipu died, so they were still producing the Bhosles of Nagpur were producing one of the best sword rockets. These are the live examples, in fact. The important point, so we are going to come to the end, in fact. So why did English or the US or the French, why did they highlight the rockets manufactured by Tipu? See, here what I'm doing is that based on all the contemporary, so I still have a lot of them, in fact, belonging to the Bengal and all those things, but because of the limited time, I'm just winding it up, and I'm flying balloons now, because I'm going to catch one of the balloons and come to a conclusion. You can fly another balloon and catch it, but this is my way of proving why they did it, okay? So if you want to know why exactly, you need to get into the history of USA, the wars they fought not only in India, but also in Europe and US. See, when we come to the Third Anglo-Mysore War, we need to understand who exactly is Cornwallis, in fact. Where exactly he came from. See, Cornwallis was involved in the American War of Independence, and who fought with American people? It was the France, in fact. And France and UK, they were, I think, they had rivalry from quite a long time, in fact. So Lord Cornwallis was part of the British, this one, and he had to surrender, in fact, at that place, surrender, and he was left on payroll, in fact. He was in prison for a few months, and on payroll he was released, and he came back to England,
and he was on half salary just like today, and he was in great financial clutches, and he had to take up a job, and he was sent to India as a general, and he came over here. Okay, now interestingly, when you look at the third Anglo, so it started from 1790 to 92. So when in 91 they were very close enough to take over Srirangapatna, it was because of Parshuram Bhave and the Bombay regiment. They were a little bit late in arriving at Srirangapatna, and the monsoon arrived, and Cornwallis said that I need to come back next year. And when he did that, look at the paintings. These are the original paintings, okay? And the person who did it was he was one of the famous painters at England. So look at the way. So that is Tipu. So sarcastically they say that he was afraid and he did not do that in fact. So this was the when this was done, so Cornwallis was again insulted in fact. So one insult was he was imprisoned at the War of Independence. This is the second one, and France highlighted Tipu and Hyder because they were able to defeat again Cornwallis in fact. So this was very terrible for Cornwallis. And the next year when he came back, so before Parshuram Bhave could land up, he signed the treaty in fact. He could have easily taken over or killed Tipu. He did not do that. And he writes in his biography that if I had done that, Parshuram Bhave would have definitely taken over the whole Mysore in fact. Just imagine, he writes himself in one of the letters to the British East India Company that I refrained from doing it because Parshuram Bhave, if he had been there, he would have not allowed me. So he would have given half of that to Nizam and half he would have kept, and the whole Mysore and Malabar would be under Parshuram Bhave. And in this disowned rocket, to the extreme right side, you can see the fellow who is whose back you can see he's holding the rocket. In fact, the head of the rocket is at the bottom. And from 92 to 99, so Tipu lost half of his territory. Coorg was liberated, and Malabar was liberated. Half of on the north was taken by Nizam, and towards the Tamil Nadu was taken by the English people. So he was in a great financial crutch, in fact. And importantly, before him, Robert Clive had set the stage for the Arcot as well as the Battle of Plassey, and he himself had used rockets. It's not just Cornwallis. So Cornwallis became famous, saying that, see, this is how I did it, in fact. On the other hand, the US people highlighted Hyder and Tipu because they were fighting against the English who were their enemies. And Maratha were never fought with the French as well as they were not on the side of French and US, in fact. So this is how we get to know about this one. See, when we come back to the 1999, so Wellesley again, one more. So Wellesley also had the same thing, in fact. So his brother was also there involved, in fact. And just a few days before, he was attacked at one of the mango grove at Sultanpet, and people thought that he has died, in fact. So, and some of the people, English narratives, they say that sarcastically, they say that we thought that he had run away from the battlefield because he was not available for 24 hours, they say. And some narratives say that for 48 hours, he was not traceable, in fact. So he had to do something, so he wanted to become famous. And this is very important, okay. This is, when we Google, this is what people show and say that this is put up at NASA. And our President Abdul Kalam, when he visited NASA, so he happened to see this hanging on the at the NASA office, and he was greatly inspired, in fact. So he said that I wanted to visit the places where rockets were manufactured, but he couldn't do it, in fact. But interestingly, no one did any research on this painting. At the bottom, the name of the painter is written there, okay. His name says Charles Hedge Tuggle, okay. Who is he? He's a famous aviation painter. But what is his, so when he was available, so he, 1898 to 1971. So he did this painting about a decade later, after the fall of Tipu, okay. So he never participated, his forefathers never participated in any wars in India. He did it because French, who were their allies, so they were fighting with the Hyder and Tipu, and they wanted just to highlight it. They never highlighted Marathas. And the rockets which they are showing are not the rockets of English, they are the rockets of Maratha. So this is what has happened. So we show this picture and tell, see, Tipu's rockets, the sword rocket. And we have proof to show that the English themselves have written that it was only the Marathas who used sword rockets and not Tipu and Hyder. So narrative is okay. So this is a Kalpanik paintings, okay. So and this is, people are putting it on Google and saying, see, you look at this. So Tipu is a pioneer of rocket technology. No, definitely not. So when we conclude, so I would like to say that when you say look at the narratives, we have got a lot of narratives. In 1801, the East India Company set up a commission to study the iron technology. So they had two people, Bradlock and Bishop, so who went through the whole technology, that how rockets were manufactured, and on the first page itself they have written, this is purely for the government and should not be published and it's not for general view. So now it's digitalized and you can have a look at it. So there they clearly mentioned that the iron technology and the technology of gunpowder, everything what these people use it, is definitely unimaginable. And he says that Congress rockets are very insuperior, they're not superior in fact. And they took a lot of pain, so they were not successful in fact. So what they did that, they slowly came down closing all the factories in fact. And after the Nagara Kuta, so there was a rebellion war which took place at Nagara, which again caught up so fastly that it came all the way to Mysore. So because of that, the Mysore Maharaja lost his power for 50 years, 30 years, like 1831 to 1881. For 50 years, the commissioner rule was set up, and again it was we had that 1857, the Sipai Dange, and a lot of rockets were also used there, in fact, and most of them came from the rocket factory at Mungar. Okay, so interesting. So you can just Google the one of the Nawab of Murshidabad. Again, Murshidabad is the capital. So he transferred the capital from Murshidabad to Mungar. Okay, why he transferred the place to Mungar? Because he found that the soil at Mungar had a lot of potassium nitrate, saltpeter, and it was useful for producing firearms, especially the rockets. So they started manufacturing rockets from Mungar, and till today, if you go, Mungar is famous for producing licensed as well as unlicensed rockets, and there each boy has a rocket, the guns in his hand. So these are the rockets which were manufactured at Bengal, various places of Bengal. And after the Sepoy Mutiny, so British India, they came with a conclusion that we need to stop the local factories. The iron technology was stopped. So after 18th century, we don't have any local native iron producing factories. The technology was not researched, and Firearms Act came into place. So wherein the natives were not allowed to use those firearms. So if you have a firearm, you can just keep one of them, and you need to describe exactly what exactly. So this is Firearms Act which came into place. So this is how they started curbing the technology, and this is how we stopped using or stopped making our local guns and all those stuff. So now we export it, and anyway, nowadays we do it, we research it now. So based on the contemporary sources, we can easily prove that rockets were there. And see, I just forgot to say, when in the Akbarnama, at one place he says that war rockets, the iron rockets were in India early in 14th century. So he was speaking about the Delhi Sultanate and the Rajputs. So we very well know that rockets were part of our tradition, and it's not the Chinese who did it in fact. So we had rockets everywhere in India in fact. So gunpowder was done, everything was done, and lately the Westerners have come and they are claiming on all our inventions or whatever we have done, and saying that it's done by we, and they are taking the credit for all of these things. As Anuradha Madam said, it was during the time of Ashoka itself, we knew exactly where irons were manufactured. So I think I'm writing a book on this one. So it's a voluminous book, so wherein I'm putting all the narratives and just to prove that rockets were already part of India. So I'm going to conclude that definitely it's not Hyder or Tipu. It was there before. Okay, I cannot say it's Vijayanagara, it's Mughal, or I cannot go back little but I can easily say that definitely from 16th century we had rockets, and all of them were very good and superior in fact. And I thank everyone for giving me an opportunity and for listening to me. And if there are any questions, I'm ready to take it. Sir.
There's also another version to it.
Yes.
Would have known about Abaka,
Rani Abaka. Yes.
Even prior to Rani Abaka, Indians knew that any cotton cloth dipped and dried in Agate linseed oil is inflammable.
Correct.
So they used to wrap their arrows and shoot. And usually in the army, there would be huge tents where the king decided and all that.
Correct.
And it fell on it, the fire won't start immediately. But after some time, reacting with the oxygen, the fire would suddenly in the back of the, friends in the army, and and behind the king, and the king's whole thing would be aflame. So it would create these kind of confusion in the mind.
Correct.
That's point one. Point two, the even when guns came, there were two types of guns. One is with cartridge, second is the Narike
Loaded.
mother loaded. So in that there is a particular gun called blunderbuss, which has the tube.
Tube.
It has a wider, so it could be easily loaded inside with anything that's available. Even the bullets or whatever scrap pieces sent by the opposite army, it could be loaded and sent back to them. That was known to us. That was used in 1565 in the War of Calicut.
Correct.
The what we call the Vijayanagar, there were two generals, Muslim generals, who turned court, and instead of firing like that, so that it would follow the Adilshai Confederate, they turned the guns down like that, loaded with all these whatever, even copper coins that were there, and they blasted the Vijayanagar army from behind, and it said that nearly 10,000 people died in an instant. And that created the confusion, and Ram Raya was captured.
So, as you said, sir, when Bidnur, the Keladi Nayakas took over Bidnur, so it already had a large factories impact. So they were taken over just because, and just like the shipbuilding technology, everything was taken over, and they started doing it. In fact, and Hyder also did the same thing when he took over Bidnur. So he had the shipping technology. He started producing coins in the same way, and he had a factory called as Ningayana factory. So that is the place where the rockets were found. And Ningai's name is also found at Basru also. They say that the Kartas of Basru say that there was a person called as Ningaya who was a famous metallurgist, and the factory belongs to him. And the same name is also available in Bidnor. So that is the place where we found the rockets. It's called as Ningayana Karkhane. And the Karkhane was famous for even making the guns and matchlocks for Tipu also, which are still available in the museums, different museums of London. In fact, even the stores. In fact, it says Nagara Karkhane. So it was called as Bednor or Nagara. So Nagara Karkhane, again, it was taken over by the Kheldis, but the Karkhanes were still there long time from before, like Abbaka, Chennabaira Devi. So all of them knew very well about the arms and the firearms. In fact.
Thanks for mentioning my name in the beginning.
Sir, it's all because of you. It started 2002, in fact.
So when I took charge of the government mission Bangalore, I found three projects, and they didn't have a gun. Empty cells are there, and two rockets were fired with the height, not rope or it's height, not leather.
No.
It's height. They was pretty height and
Correct.
And when they discovered some rockets, when the fuel was distributed in the fuel belongs to Nagaraj. So they discovered these cells, and they took them to the museum, and local people said that some pipes like that. So everybody apart. That was in the year 2002. When I visited the Scotland, India, Asia, I studied some rockets and some arms. Then there were examples in Bangalore Museum. Then I went to Shumala Museum, and they were stored in some empty store. I found that it contains gunpowder. Poles were not there. Cane poles were not there. Then I studied both compared to and I went to Scotland and also I studied. Then I published a small paper in the year 2007. That is Itihasa ಮತ್ತು ಪುರಾತತ್ವ of Sharma.
Correct, sir.
That was the beginning. And many people thought that there is not a single evidence in India about the rockets. But there are. And recently, about 4-5 years back, we discovered another rocket in Aregundi.
Aregundi, correct, sir.
It is on rampart itself. On the rampart itself, made by the Kumara river. So it also contains the many thought that it is for the destruction of the means killing the soldiers.
Good.
exactly it is used for creating havoc in the army camp.
Correct.
Especially they were fired during night, so that they can burn the tents of the army. So this is the, and regarding iron, we have a history of more than 3,000 years.
Definitely, sir.
Iron, So iron produced before 1800, it was the best anywhere in the world. Similarly, not only rockets, even the agricultural implements. We have to study side by side, the iron implements also.
Correct, sir. Agriculture implements.
The best, in those days, the best agricultural implements anywhere in the world. So we have a technology of producing iron, and some people thought that it is rocket technology. Some 40, 50 years back, our own blacksmiths would produce those pipes in the local in the villages also. So later on, people thought that it is the rocket technology to invented like that. So gunpowder, actually the Chinese and Mongols they started using. It came to India through Mughals or Muslim rulers. At the same time, Arabs were using the rockets. They were made up of wood as well as cloth. Cloth means it is a type of canvas cloth.
Correct.
So, many people that well today think that only either and Tipu invented this. So, Arabs it was common in the Vijayanagar period.
Correct.
So the misery is we didn't get physical evidence.
Live rockets.
Yeah, live physical evidence. Even in the exposition at Hampi, we didn't find. Only during recent about 4-5 years back, when we were conserving the port of Anand on the river side, we discovered one rocket, live rocket, without this chain, which contains the gunpowder. So that was discovered on campus. But at the same time, Tipu acquired this Anand India also. He attacked Anand India also. Maybe it belongs to them or it's certainly not. I don't think that anywhere in Hampi we discovered this rocket.
No.
Thanks for your congratulations and thanks for your.
Thank you very much, sir.